Well, thank you for a fabulous introduction, Charlene. It really very touching, actually, as we had a chance to meet with so many people before dinner to talk about old times. In many cases, there are so many people in this room that go back such a long way with my brother and me and my family. It's tempting to kind of go back and talk about the old days and those relationships, but there's so much going on that I need to talk about that I'll resist that temptation. Dirk, I should say, your comment about no billable hours, I'm trying to figure out this. The legal profession has changed. If there's lawyers in here tonight that can't figure out how to get some billable hours out of his dinner, times have truly changed. The Chaldean American Bar Association now is been doing its great work for perhaps 20 years or so, as I remember, almost 20 years. You are a wonderful community organization, strengthening the Chaldean American, strengthening the legal community, the Michigan community. You represent what is so critically important to all of us, which is that sense of community, being part of something larger than yourself. Understanding that is important as obviously our families are, and that's the rock that we all rest on. A sense of community is a critically important addition to that sense of family. There are some who, believe it or not, will mock community as being something that is not particularly necessary. But I think those of us that are part of strong communities, tight communities, as the Chaldean American community, is understand how important it is that we take care of each other. We watch out for each other, watch over each other, lend a hand to each other, not just inside of our families, but inside of our communities. And the Chaldean American community is also understood and been a very important part of this American saga that we're all really a part of. This unbelievable country that we have been blessed to come to in many cases. In my case, it was grandparents who came, and many people in this room, it was perhaps great-grandparents or grandparents, in many cases, first-generation Americans, but how blessed we are that we have been able to come to a country which actually not just accepts diversity, but treasures diversity and holds out the different cultures, the different backgrounds as a source of strength. In many parts of this world, too many parts of this world, where people's different backgrounds and ethnicity and religion are a source of tension and frequently violence. In this country, we have found the opposite is true, that we can treasure each other's background, learn from it, share it, and actually be strengthened by it. And in a world which is so divided as our world is, that particular American ability to turn diversity and differences into a stronger bond is something which I wish we could actually clone and make part of the rest of the world. But since we can't quite do that, at least we can count our own blessings for being part of this country. I want to congratulate Ron Ancho. He's being honored here tonight. When I saw him in the hall, he said that he wished that I could stay here for his remarks because he was going to lay it on pretty thick about what a great person I am. So I told him that since I can't stay, I've got to get to the airport to catch a plane back to Washington tonight, that could he give me a shortened version of it. And so he proceeded to give me a very, very brief description of all of the fabulous things that I've done in my life. I can only tell you he exaggerates. Don't take everything that he says about me literally, because he's an old friend and he lays it on pretty thick. But I do want to congratulate him for his contribution to the community, in addition to the Chaldean American community, to our broader community as well. I read a book recently about America that was written by a Frenchman about 180 years ago. It was a man named de Tocqueville. He was an aristocrat. He came here, he came to Michigan. That was the western part of the United States back in 1830. He came to, pardon the expression, Ohio. He also came to Wisconsin. And he wrote about America and the things that he was utterly amazed by in America. He was amazed by the egalitarian spirit that he found here. That people were not part of different classes, that what he called ordinary people, tradesmen, could be anybody, and people who were professionals all were friends, and they all talked to each other on the street and passed each other by, knew each other's families. And he saw the absence of aristocracy in this country, which frankly amazed him. He wasn't sure that it could last because the egalitarian spirit here, he wasn't sure could survive some of the pressures that exist in a free society. But what he also saw here was an innovative spirit in America. And he used that word innovation over and over again in some of his writings about how America was a place, and he identified the reason for this ability to innovate, the entrepreneurial spirit that he found here. And the reason was the freedom that exists here to think, to be who you are, to create, to experiment, to try things, if necessary, sometimes fail, to continue to be able to try. And it was that freedom, that freedom that we have here that hopefully we'll never take for granted, that has permitted us to be innovative and to have a spirit which is entrepreneurial, to try things, to experiment and to invent and to design new things. There are many countries in the world that have certain advantages. I guess you could call them advantages. Their labor may be cheaper than our labor. They may not have environmental regulations that they have to contend with. But they, in countries such as China, have something which we have. They don't have something which we have, which is critically important to prosperity as well as to a good life. And that is a sense of freedom. And we celebrated that freedom just the other day, and those who've given up their lives for that freedom on Memorial Day. But it is so important to being able to create, to find ways to solve problems. And the creativity and the inventiveness and innovation, which I find everywhere I go, and I travel a lot in Michigan, is something which I believe will be the source of continuing economic strength, because we can't compete with the labor costs in other countries, but we can and we do become and are the center of inventiveness, innovation, new technologies. The technologies which are being spawned in this state and country of ours are breathtaking. Whether we're talking manufacturing technologies, medical technologies, energy technologies, this is the future prosperity and well-being of our country. And so we have a blessing in that regard. The Chaldean American community, which is such a part of our strength, is also critically important in terms of our foreign policy, of the importance of not forgetting the problems in other parts of the world and finding ways, if possible, to deal with those problems. Refugees were mentioned here. And the involvement of myself and my office, Steve Nelson, who's with me tonight, who's my new regional rep, who's been involved in immigration work, in refugee work, in work to help people seeking asylum in this country. We have a special advantage, and the Chaldean American community has a special advantage because of where you come from. You not only can help this country deal with issues overseas, you have helped in some very special ways, as a matter of fact, back in Iraq, where members of this community put their lives on the line to help our military in Iraq.